Almost 80,000 girls in Ghana, aged between 12 and 17 years, are already married or living with a man. That's according to the Ghana Statistical Service, which says nearly 26,000 of them are girls of junior high school, aged between 12 to 14 years. The data released by the Ghana Statistical Service is based on the 2021 population and housing census and coincides with the International Day of the Girl Child, which is being observed globally today. Now, the day seeks to highlight challenges preventing young girls from reaching their full potential, such as early marriage and lack of access to educational and other opportunities. Senior statistician and member of the 2021 Population and Housing Census Methodology Team, Moses Ansah, joins me via Zoom with details of the Statistical Services report. Moses, good morning and thank you so much for your time.
Good morning.
Now, let's unpack the reports. Which regions have the highest number of girls in such unions?
Sorry, come again. Your line wasn't too clear.
All right, so we're talking about the regions. Which regions has the highest number of girls in such unions?
Okay, so the region with the highest is the northern region.
Okay. And do we know why that's the case?
Well, so going into details as to why that was not done in the census, but the census picked data on children 12 years and older or people 12 years and older, and so this specific analysis is in relation to girls 12 to 17 years who have ever been married or are currently married or in a union that is living with a man. So if you look at the statistics, the northern region, yes, has the highest proportion. Okay. That is about 14,000 of girls are in a union. Okay. And that constitutes about 10.6% of these girls. Okay. And then it is also followed by Ashanti region, which also have about 9,000 of such girls with 2.7% of the proportion. When you go to the lower side of the graph, you realize that the Ahafo and Western North regions are the lowest, Ahafo having about 1,268 of these girls in such a union, and then Western North having about 2,267 girls, constituting 3.9 of the girls that have been identified to be in this kind of union.
Now, we're also told that despite free and compulsory universal basic education, they're engaging in these unions. Is it a case that maybe these areas are poverty-stricken?
Yes, so like I indicated, we put out a report earlier on, which is the proximity to essential services report that the service also put out as one of the reports from the 2021 Population and Housing Census. That is a report that deals with distances of localities to essential services, which includes school facilities. Okay. So what we now need to look at is whether and so in that report, it also came out that distances to school facilities is a problem in some of these regions that these figures are predominant. And so what we need to look at is whether that is really the cause or there are other factors that also contribute to this situation in which we are.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Moses, but joining us with more on this conversation is the executive directors of two girl-child-friendly NGOs. We have Awal Ahmed Karyama, who leads Arise Ghana, and we also have Etonem Say, who heads Inspire Today Foundation. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the International Day of the Girl Child.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
Do we have Etonem? Etonem, good morning. Etonem, good morning.
Morning, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So now let's start with Awal Mohammed of Rise Ghana. So what would motivate a man to seek the welfare of girls? And this is to you directly, who's heading Rise Ghana.
Thank you very much. I think I like this question very much. We basically are in a process where we are stepping up the advocacy to look at the role of men in terms of empowering women and girls. In fact, if you ask what is needed for a man, it's popular saying that the first university of every child is the mother.
Okay.
And it has shown that when a mother has a higher level of education, the household income is likely to improve. The propensity of sickness in the household reduces. So they are likely to adhere to health practices, and so they give birth to quality children. They are able to groom better children, and the risk in terms of delinquency for society reduces when the capacity of the mothers are enhanced. And for some of us, we have been lucky to grow up and in the midst of women and girls and have been supported over the years. In fact, one of my biggest exposure in terms of civil society work is the fact that a woman gave me an opportunity to not just be an officer in a program, but a gender and human rights officer. And so I started challenging the status quo around that. And interestingly, also, fast forward several years, I am a proud girl dad.
Okay.
I have 3 daughters, and I have seen what my sisters have done. I've seen what women have done in terms of empowering and creating an enabling environment for, growing from rural areas, you know that most fathers are absentee fathers. They are not at home presently. Majority of the children draw inspiration from their mothers.
Yeah.
So it's only fair that we empower women, and it's a that every man should be proud of. So I draw a sense of pride in advancing the rights of women and girls, because I see from practical the benefits of it, and it's very clear and how it impacts society. So it's a very interesting and honor kind of thing to do, so that you are contributing to the growth of society and you are clearly lifting. You know, some of us believe that, and in fact, there's evidence to show that women are generally more intelligent.
Yeah.
The female sex is more intelligent than the male sex. I think that we can argue about this, but it's a statement of fact, and science has done. However, society does not allow women to achieve their full potential. And so when we allow women to achieve their full potential, we're not only benefiting women and girls, but we're benefiting society at large. Look, every man wants to be proud to have a woman who is enlightened, who is exposed, who is well-to-do, who is successful. Yet we want to still abuse women. So we are talking about the fact that for every man that is able to achieve so much, when there's a supportive wife, a co-partner, they are able to achieve a lot. So it's about ensuring that both sexes succeed. So it's not just about the women. For every woman empowered, we are creating an enabling environment for men to also be able to achieve their full potential. And so for me, that's the motivation.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Mohammed, but let's go to Etanam, who's at Inspire today. So we want to know why you are stressing the need for all and sundry to be intentional about the welfare of the adolescent girl. Why the emphasis?
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. The emphasis is because of what we stand for. I think that we are not intentional enough about the growth of the adolescent child. We talk about it, we write about it, but we are not taking steps to address the challenges of the girl child. If you look at even the theme for the International Day of the Girl Child for this year and next year, it says we are collectively calling for greater attention, investment, and action on supporting the leadership of adolescent girls at the forefront of change efforts. So if you're saying that we have to be intentional or we have to pay attention to the girl child, what exactly are we doing? I was in Zwarungu between Thursday and Saturday. Of today, we decided to support close to 5,000 menstruating girls or adolescent girls in the Bolgatanga East District. And I'm telling you that the challenges are enormous. As an NGO, today, we support the girls with sanitary towels. We support them with bathing soap, roll-ons, educational materials. Because what like it or not, these are some of the fundamental reasons the girls don't go to school. Because they don't have access to hygienic menstrual products, they would rather stay home than go to school. And I have never in my life seen so much poverty like I saw when I went to Bolgatanga East over the weekend. I couldn't believe it. So if you look at these people who can barely afford 1 meal a day, and we are asking them to pay as much as 10, 15 cedis for one sanitary pad. If you look at even the components on sanitary pads, for Ghana alone, you have import duty 20%, you have import VAT 12.5%, you have Get Fund 2.5%, you have NHIL 2.5%, you have special import levy 2%, COVID levy 1%, ECOWAS levy 0.5%, export and import levy 0.75%, inspection fee 1%, AU levy 0.5%, and Ghana Health Service 0.5%. So as much as 45% tax on a sanitary pad that is essential to the girl. I mean, it means that you just don't want them to go to school. So if I say we should be intentional, government must look at reducing the number of taxes on sanitary pads so that the girls can go to school. Like the gentleman who spoke earlier before me said, the girls are much more intelligent. Research has shown that the girls are much more intelligent in class than the boys. But where do they fall out? They fall out because of poverty, because of some of these issues. You know, they have to be in school, but they cannot be in school because they are menstruating. Why should someone miss classes because of their biological makeup? It doesn't really fit in for me. So we are just calling on government to pay some more attention, be intentional. As an NGO, I mean, there's just so much we can do. We traveled all the way, 15 hours from Accra to Bolgatanga to support these girls. The packs we gave them 2 each. I don't think that it will last them more than 3 months. After 3 months, they will go back to what they're used to.
Yeah.
They will go back to missing classes. So if we say be intentional by looking at the challenges that the young girl is faced with, because they will never grow up to become confident and be able to even fight for their rights if the basic they need is not provided for.
Okay.
That's what I mean by let's be intentional.
All right. So Etonom says we have to be intentional. But let me go back to Mr. Ansah, Moses Ansah. Do you identify with some of the challenges that the NGOs have mentioned as contributing factors to these numbers that you have given us?
Yeah, so we don't normally go into the details as to the reasons why these numbers are seen, but then we put out the numbers to indicate how substantial they are, and like Etonom is saying, how there should be a deliberate effort to work on this situation. Because if you want to talk about the school issue, we have as many as about 250,000. That is about 244,000 girls aged between 6 to 14 years have never at all attended school. And this is very, very substantial. And so we put out the numbers so that the other institutions and other people that work on these situations will also look at it and then tackle the situation and see how best we'll be able to work on this. And as I indicated, it's predominantly a situation that is in the northern sector. In fact, the northern region is the highest, with about 77,000 girls who have never attended school at all between the ages of 6 to 14 years. 77,000, they have never attended school at all.
Okay, that's quite an alarming number. But I want to bring back Mr. Mohammed. Yeah, Mohammed, how is your organization empowering the girl child? Mohammed?
Yes, thank you very much. Basically, there are a series of activities that Rise Ghana, together with its partners, UNICEF Ghana, Oxfam, and World that are doing to be able to arrest this situation. We are currently implementing a project called Enough that is aimed at mobilizing men and boys to support issues around preventing gender-based violence. We're also working with Ghana Health Service and other stakeholders through UNICEF to empower communities as well as gatekeepers and adolescents to engage in efforts that will reduce this menace. So specifically, the things we are doing is that we are setting up legal literacy clubs in various districts. The legal literacy clubs are supposed to create awareness about the human rights aspect of this violation of the girls' rights. I mean, if you look at the Children's Act, it categorically states that the best interest of the child must be promoted. So it's unacceptable that that huge number of children are not in school. I mean, it doesn't sit anywhere in our policy. It's unacceptable. So the legal literacy clubs is educating girls about how to seek redress when they are abused, when they are touched inappropriately, as well as mobilizing communities to provide them the needed education. One of the things we're doing is also to work with gatekeepers. By gatekeepers, I mean traditional authorities, community leaders, and other private sector actors. Look, majority of our girls, we're asking the reasons why there are so many girls in child marriage. One of the core drivers is the fact that teenage pregnancy. Okay. So access to contraceptives and sexual and reproductive health rights education is low. So we're doing a lot to educate the girls to understand their bodies and to safeguard themselves so that when they are touched or abused in a way, they can seek help. They can also get the information and services around sexual and reproductive health rights they need so that they are able to keep themselves away from harm's way. But access to actually contraceptive is a major problem. And then also we have the issue of birth registration. Majority of the cases that we find, some of the girls are teenagers, they are underage. Legally, they shouldn't be married. But when you take the matter to court, some of them do not even have birth registration. So you're not able to prosecute it to the latter, to get the finality to the issue because the person, you cannot legally prove that the person is a child. And so the issue of child marriage, or whether it's a defilement or rape, you cannot even establish. So that is one aspect. So we're working a lot with the communities to increase the uptake of birth registration so that more children would have age-appropriate enrollment in school. They will have age-based support as and when they need. And then also, because of our cultural dynamics in terms of the fact that people prefer their girls giving birth in a man's house, even if they are children, than they giving birth in the house as teenagers. So because of that, people quickly arrange a kind of mock marriage, and then because of the teenage pregnancy. So we need to tackle the issue of access to contraceptive and also age-appropriate sexual and reproductive health rights education so that girls can know how to protect themselves away from harm. And then there's also the issue of assumed poverty. I say assumed poverty because it's about priorities. Some of the people, they are not really. We need to have families and parents prioritizing the needs of the girl child and understanding the dynamics and the psychology of somebody who is menstruating so that we can stop the period shaming, the period poverty, that is access to the sanitary pads and others. We need to introduce innovative sanitary pads like they do in other jurisdictions so that we have reusable ones and the girls are taught how to stay away from infection while using the reusable sanitary pads. All these are that we need to introduce in the communities if we want to really make a headway in this.
Okay.
And of course, we have weak law enforcement.
Okay.
Right.
Executive Director of Rise Ghana, Awal Mohammed, thank you so much for your time. Etonama, I hope you're still with me.
Yes, I am.
All right. So briefly, you spoke about deliberate efforts, you spoke about being intentional. And aside from reducing maybe tax from sanitary pads, how do we make the girl child's life easier? Like, what are some of the things you think we should be doing?
Okay, so I think what Rise Ghana does is not so different from what we do, just that we don't promote giving of contraceptives to the girls because sex is optional. People decide to have sex, but people don't decide to menstruate. Women do not decide to menstruate. So we advocate, so we form like a support system for these girls. We advocate for free sanitary pads for the girls. And I am glad he mentioned the reusable pads. I mean, there are some communities that we have been to that have been given reusable pads, but those communities don't even have potable water. They don't have potable water, so the reusable pads, they wash it there. They don't have the water to even wash it properly, so they reinfect themselves. So what we are asking is for government to make the pads cheaper or free for these girls. Okay. So I think it's one of the ways to give them a support system. One of the things we did when we went to Swarubu was that we had a cell meeting with smaller groups and we spoke to the girls. And they spoke about the fact that sometimes their parents deliberately push them to the boys because they don't have jobs. They don't have what it takes to take care of them. And we asked them, how much do the boys give you? Let's get 20 Ghana cedis. You sleep with a man for 20 cedis so that you can afford sanitary pads. I think it's dehumanizing. Yeah. So the support I think we can give to these girls is to educate them about their bodies. Let them know that they are worth more than 20 Ghana cedis. We also had a meeting session with their parents. We made them understand that these girls are vulnerable. So you are going to play a role. So we want the women to have some work they do. So we visited the Single Mothers Union at Zwarungu. The women mill rice. They also do shea butter. So we went to support them with some seed money. We also support them with some sanitary pads. These are single mothers who are trying to help themselves, and they are teenagers. So these are the support systems we can give them. The parents need jobs to do, so government must help create jobs for these women. We must support the women to be self-employed so they can support their girls. That's what I think that we should do. And also, I cannot say this enough, that government is the biggest spender. Government is the one who will lead the way. We want government to pay another attention. I remember very well, before the 2020 elections, there were promises that they were going to scrap the tax on sanitary pads. I think the government must go back to that conversation so that we can look at that 25% that is on a sanitary pad. We can scrap it and see if the few ones that are there that make up the 45% can all be scrapped, so we can have that, support for the young girls.
Thank you very much, Etunum says. She is the CEO of Inspire Today Foundation, and they are helping girls across the country go through their menstruation or their periods easier by providing them with sanitary pads. And she's also asking for government to scrap taxes on sanitary pads. Before I leave, let me go to Moses Ansah. Moses, any last words from your findings?
Okay, so the other thing that I've not spoken about so far is the girls that are engaged in economic activity. We have as many as 99,150 girls under the age of 15 years engaged in economic activity. And this is also very substantial. And half of this number of girls that are engaged in economic activity are also not attending school. They are not in school. And so these are all some figures and statistics available that we can rely on as a country. We have some of these statistics mostly on our website. All stakeholders, people that work on these things can rely on and use it to be able to attend to the issues as they are, and then we'll be able to address them. In fact, that is the essence of these statistics that we put out there always.
All right, thank you very much, Moses Ansah. He's a senior statistician at the Ghana Statistical Service. And we know that from almost 80,000 girls in Ghana, aged between 12 and 17 years, are already married or living with a man. And that is something that we can all play a part in by curbing that.